I both cats. He's just a little smoosh down there. He's just a smooshy guy.
Hello? Can someone say if I'm audible?
Yeah, I could hear you just fine.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you. Hello, everybody. Hopefully, yeah, I think one of you said audible. I am Shajesh. Is this visible? Yeah, hopefully. And this is physics. Section 1. Is this readable, whatever I wrote?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. And am I audible when I'm turning back into the Blackboard?
Yes.
Okay, great. So as I wrote in the email, we will have the first week of classes online. Hopefully this works, and at least during the pandemic, I used this format, and it did a reasonable job. Of course, nothing can replace a classroom setup, but at least this can do a reasonable job. That's the way I would put it. So how this is going to go, at least in the first week, is that I give the lectures here, and by any chance any of you misses, or any or due to any reason internet is not working or anything, the recording of this will be available online. So I will be providing a link for that, and you will be able to access it. I'll make it as a playlist, and you will be able to see it on YouTube. So that is how it's going to work. In fact, if it goes smoothly, I've noticed that many students have requested that recordings help to go and return back. So even during the normal semester, I'll see how much of this the recording part can be kept, but we will have the classroom set up as soon as this online format is gone. So today I want to go over what are the expectations in this course. This is a part 2, or we call it 203B, algebra-based physics course. So the expectation is that you have done physics 203A part of this. All of you should have done it. That's a prerequisite. You should have at least got a D to be able to enroll in this course. It is possible that many of you have not taken this course with me. I did teach this last semester, so there is a possibility that many of you have seen me before, and you know the style and the expectations I have as far as homework and other things go. So, but I will repeat that whole thing here because it is slightly different from what we see in every other course, and that's one important point. So let me bring that out right away. So let me see if I can select this. Yeah, I think I should be able to zoom this also. Let's see. Okay, slightly zoomed in. Let me know if this is not readable, if I'm writing small, or any if this feature is not working, or if I can do better, just let me know. Okay, so the point is, overall, the course can be broken into 2 parts. That is homework. So is that readable? Yeah, hopefully. Let me know if it's not. And there are exams. And that's the 2 broad breakup that we will have. But this again breaks into 2. The homework is having homework itself, and there is quizzes to that. That's just details. Similarly, exams, we have midterm exam, and there is a final exam. Right? There are 3 midterm exams. There are many homeworks. Almost every week we will have a homework. So that's broadly the breakup. But the important point I want you guys to take home is that this is about 40% and this is 60%. That's the breakup as far as points goes. And this is easy to score. Easy to score. And this is hard to score. By score, I mean to earn points. But that does not mean that these two are different things. In fact, it's the same question that will be there in the homework and in the exam, but you will notice that almost all of you will get very easy points in homework, but when it comes to exam, it becomes hard, primarily because in the homework, you have access to the textbook, you have access to the internet, you can take help from anyone. It is okay to take help from anyone you want. So this is easy to score. This is very hard to score. So the point is that you don't want to miss this. You don't want to miss any of the homework. So what's the way to score good points? Statistically speaking, based on what I have taught before, if you get 100% in homework, which is possible in homework, plus if you get about 80, let's say 82% in exams, that's a way to get an A, right? That's approximately 90 in total. If you do this breakup again, it is because this is so easy to score. Everyone can do this, but this is harder. So this is the breakup you want to aim for. And that can lead to a 90, which is an A. If you see the same breakup for B, so that will be this. Of course, this can be changed. If you make this less, then you need to get more in the exams. But this is one breakup. So this is plus about, let's say, 70% in exams. It's very broadly speaking, and that will give you a B. So that will be an A, so that will be a B. And again, bring this down a little bit, plus 60%. And you can get a C. Of course, if you get more, then you can further go down. Notice that even with a 60% in the exams, you can get a C in the course. This is what I mean. This is the basic thing you want to take home. By the way, is this glare too bad? Is this readable? I noticed that there is a glare on this side of the board. There is a window on this side. Should I try closing that? No response, so probably it's okay. It is not too bad. Okay, I can't read the top left of the top left here. Okay, that might be my handwriting. So that's quizzes. Is that better? Okay, try to ask me directly because I might not be looking into the chat all the time. So, but I'll try to pay attention. Okay. So that's the main important point of what we are doing today, basically giving you an idea of what exactly, how to approach this course. But now let me go into the details of how these breakups happen. Let's begin by where I put all the materials related to the course. There are two pieces primarily, two places, I should say. Let's see. Come on. So there are two places, the web page for the course will be, since you're probably on having internet, you can as well type this directly into a browser. So that's spix.com and then /TC. So that's teaching courses. And you want to write this continuously since there is no space there. I'm going to bring this down. Oh, I should remember this. Let's see. So it is 2022, so that's 2022. The first month, that's January, SIU, and Physics 203B. That's a hyphen. If you do this, type this continuously on a browser, you should reach a web page, and that will be the web page for this course. There should be good amount of information in there already, but I will go through each one of them. So there is a reasonable number of links in there. So that's first page you want to use. And the second is the SIU course web page. So we call it either D2L or we call it My Courses, right? I think it's called SIU My Courses, right? So My Courses. So that is all your courses get collected there, and you should have access to this web page from D2L already. So I have put an announcement there where I have provided you with a link. So how will we use this? Since we will be having, at least for the first week, and if possible, even in the future, we will have recordings for the lectures, homework, quizzes, everything will be posted on this page. But when it comes to submission and grades, we need a password protected place. And for that, we will use the university webpage. So the primary place where you want to go to reach for materials in this course is going to be the specs.com PC and this number in there. Even if you type just the specs.com, there should be a link for this course in there. So that's as far as web pages go. How is the course going to be? What is it going to talk about? Part one of this course, we mostly talked about what happens to something having a mass, right? If you have something massive, you drop it, it falls down. And we talked about gravity. We introduced the idea of force. It involved velocity, acceleration, and those were the concepts we talked about. And here, now we want to talk about what happens to materials that have charge on it. So we will introduce a new concept called an electric charge. And how do materials or objects or particles behave when they have a charge? So that will be our very 1 or 2 line summary of the whole course. It'll cover about 15 chapters of the last part of the book. So the first 15 chapters were broadly done in part 1, and the next 15 chapters will be done in the part 2 of this course. The textbook will remain the same. In our department, we have been consistently using Cutnell and Johnson, and it is good to point out that the author, the first 2 authors, Cutnell and Johnson, were both from SIU. This textbook was written by SIU faculty. They are, of course, retired, but it is not just used in SIU. It is a national level, a very good high percentage of universities use this textbook. So it's a very classic textbook. So it's good to point out that the authors are from our department. Okay, so that's textbook. Web page is gone. And by the way, I'm just going through the syllabus, which is again available on this web page. If you want to click on the syllabus, it should be there in the first paragraph itself in the web page there. You should be able to access this. Okay. So that's, let's see. Lectures. Lectures will be mostly, I expect that we have face-to-face classes very soon. That's a hope, wishful thinking, but I think I feel positive about it. And in that case, we will have the lectures in Neckers 440. In the first week, the first 3 classes will be online, and we will have it in this format. Even when we are having the normal lectures, I will try to record them. That is just for the benefit of the students who would like to go back and refer to the notes. I've noticed that during the pandemic, I did this, and one of the very big feedback was that everything was bad. Online classes are not great, but the recordings have been very helpful. So I'll try to keep that part if possible. If it is easy to keep, we will try to do that. Course work, how does the evaluations happen? That is broadly what I wrote here, 40 and 60. This breaks into 30 for the homework, 10 for the quizzes, and midterm exams. There will be 3 midterm exams and one final exam. So how does this break up? So I think broadly what happens is that we first have lectures. So we first have lectures. So you come and attend the lectures. Next is you go home and you try to go through what happened in the classroom. And the best way is to start working on the homework. Either you study the lecture content of the lectures and then you begin the homework, or you begin the homework and since you're not able to attempt on it, you go back to the lectures and try to understand that. And you will notice that homework, if you do not depend on any resource, most of you probably will struggle with the homework. It will be hard to work out the homework without a little bit of help. And that's where textbook comes in. So there is a textbook, or for that matter, internet resource, whatever you want to use, internet or the lecture notes itself. And these two keep going in circles. You try to do the homework, you refer to the textbook, you go back to the lectures. So you keep trying to work out all the homework. Now that's where some responsibility comes in. If while working on the homework, you did not use any resource at all. By resource, I mean, you do not use the textbook, you do not use the lecture notes, nothing at all, and you're able to do the homework. That means you have understood the concept, but that rarely happens. That's not 99% of the students I've come across, that doesn't happen. So how much you use the textbook, how much you use the internet, how much you use the solutions. I provide the solutions of the homework also. How much of that is used, you should keep track of that and accordingly spend more time working on more problems in the textbook. Again, what I'm suggesting is that use the resources, but keep track of how much you're using, in the sense that you read the homework question and you're not even able to write the first sentence to begin with. That means you have to spend a lot of time understanding the content more by reading the textbook, or by, since we might have recordings, go over the recordings and try to understand the topic. So that's a responsibility you need to maintain. And once you have that, we'll have the midterm exams eventually. And midterm exams will have very similar problems to the homework. In fact, exactly the same, but it seems to be harder, mostly because you do not have the resource that you can take help from. So that's the main thing we will do. So we'll have lectures, homework, you study, this is the study part, textbook plus internet, and then we will have exam. And this will happen in 4 weeks, every 4 weeks. So how does this work? So you have 3 lectures in a week, 1 homework in a week, and you study, and after 3 homeworks, we will have an exam. So that's kind of, that will be 4 quarters in that sense in the semester, 4 months. Each month we will have an exam. First 3 months we will have a midterm exam, and in the 4th month we will have a final exam. I should point out that when I say it is easy to score in the homework, one of the primary reasons why it gets easy is because your solutions that is typically available on the internet, and to discourage people from going to the internet, what I've done is that I provide the solutions itself. So solutions will be available before due date, right? Not all the time, but by all the time, I mean 2 days before the due date. It will be available before due date. So again, that brings back the responsibility part. Solutions will be available. It's up to you whether you want to use the solutions immediately or not. You want to first try out on your own and then use the solution as a backup and as a check on whether you're doing this right or not. And for the solution part, what I'm going to try this time, this primarily started from last semester. There were students who requested that solutions can be done in with the students. So what I'm going to do is that 2 days before the due date, on the evening 6 p.m., right, 6 p.m. evenings, I will meet in the classroom and work on the homework with the students. Anyone who can come, this is not mandatory, you don't have to come 2 days before the due date. I will work on it and it will be recorded and the solutions will be provided for anyone who doesn't come. If none of the students show up, I will work on the solution and the recording will be provided. This is what I did last semester, but this time I'm ready to involve students so that there is an interaction part in there. So this is an attempt. This is the first time I'm going to try that. Again, the point is 2 days before the due date on the evening. If you're available, feel free to come in. Otherwise, recordings will of the solution write-up will be provided in the course webpage. So that's about the homework. Again, I should say one more point on homework. It is okay to talk to people. You can use, since solution is anyway provided, you can use the internet, you can use solutions, you can talk to anyone. You can talk to your friends, you can look into your friends' work, you can talk to me, anyone. The idea is that you have to learn the material while doing the homework. The homework itself is not really a test. The idea of the homework is so that you go through the material and try to understand what's going on. So that's about the homework. And once you have homework, after 3 weeks, we have an exam which will test you on the material of the homework. We will also have what is called quizzes. Let me the time. We also have what we will call quizzes. This is basically to introduce concepts that have a good relation to what we are discussing, but it might be hard to go through the mathematical features of the applications involved. So mostly the quizzes are a place where I pose questions and make you guys think about it. It may not have a clear answer, as you will see. Many of the questions will not be having a perfect answer, but the idea is for you to attempt on it. So graded purely for attempting. So it doesn't matter if you got the question right or wrong. Often the question may not even have a right or a wrong answer. It might be more of a discussion, and you might still have to write something. So the way to go about this is that start with the quizzes, and you're allowed to use any resource you want. You can use the internet, and do not spend too much time. Spend about 10 minutes on it. on a quiz question. If you're interested, of course, you should spend more time, but the expectation for this grading part is only 10 minutes, 5 or 10 minutes, even less, that's perfectly fine. But the hope is that some of you guys might get curious and, oh, what is this about? And you will start searching, and there will be some thought process that you might use sometime later in the course. Okay, so so again, it is very easy to score this. You just write whatever you can, something reasonable about the question, and it should be an easy 10 points you can. But this also will be used for judging on how disciplined you are about the course, because there will be a quiz for every lecture. You will have to open the quiz after every lecture, and then you submit it before the next lecture. So that's part of a discipline for the course. And this will be used. So whatever you get in this, so let's say at the end of the semester, you get 8 out of 10. So there will be 10 points for the quizzes. And if you get 8 out of 10, most of the students get 10 out of 10 because it's so easy to score. But suppose you get 8 out of 10, that will decide how much curve you can depend on. So usually what happens is that at the end of the semester, or even after the midterm, I give you a final score, and how much of curving I do. Curving in the sense, if you're close to A and you have an 88 and that is 90 is the cutoff, I can push you a little, and how much of that you can earn is decided by this point. So how does this help? So let's give you an example. So let's say example. So let's say your score is at the end of the semester about 80 out of 100. Right. So after doing all the homeworks, quizzes, exams, everything, you get 80 out of 100. But your final score will be decided by 80 plus I will return you back some points, and that is calculated by how much points can I return you? That's 100 minus 80, right? You lost 20 points. If I give you back, if I return back all the points that you've lost, you will get all of you will get points. But that's not what I will go do. I will return back, let's say 50% of this. So let's call that 50%, right? So 0.5. So this, let's say, this will be the curve parameter. So I decide that, okay, from whatever points you have lost, I will return back 50% of them. But if you want to be eligible for this, you have to be getting a full score here. So that means 8 out of 10 means 0.8. So I multiply this with 0.8. So if you got 0 in quizzes, whatever points I return, you do not get any of that. If you get full points in quizzes, then you get back all the points that return back. So that's a way of curving, probably a complicated way, but I've seen that that's a reasonably fair way of deciding how much I curve. So I only decide on this parameter, and everything else you earn in a sense. And eventually this number, whatever comes about here, is what decides whether you have an A, B, C, or a D. So that's broadly the details of the course. I do understand that I told you too many things regarding the logistics of the course, but hopefully you capture the main point was that try to not miss any homeworks, because homeworks are easy, exams are hard. There's a balance between them. So try to not miss anything on the homework. So that's what I have regarding the syllabus and how the course will go. I'll teach a little bit, very little bit today, but before that, I should ask you guys any questions from you guys, something that you want to know about course or generic questions. Very quiet.
Will we be having homework online, or will it be given in like a paper
It will be available on this web page that I told.
or? Okay.
If you're on the computer, what I recommend is that go there now. If you go there now, you should be able to see homework number 1.
Okay.
Okay, so you just go there, click on it, you will see a homework there. At this point, the questions are not yet available there. It will be available by Wednesday, but there
Okay.
will be homework and a quiz posted on this website.
Okay. Thank
Okay?
you.
And the submissions will happen on D2L. Homework is here. You submit it on D2L. Handwork, right? You since this is a math-oriented course, you will have to work out the problems. If you can type them, that's okay, but usually it is harder to typeset mathematical equations. If you can, that's perfectly fine, but use paper and pencil and scan it, and you have to upload a PDF file on this. Okay, so that's the process. Do we have lab this week? The lab component of this course is completely independent from what I'm doing. I'm not in charge of the labs, so I do not know. Usually the first week they organize, yeah, let me not say anything. I don't know about the labs. That's the best way. I do not coordinate the labs. So you will hear about that from others. Most probably not, because it's online, but don't depend on it. Okay. Any other questions before I? Do we need the physical textbook, and can we have an online? An online copy is good enough. You don't, even if you do not have it, a textbook is good because that's what I will be using. Many of the notations will be useful from there. But I do not mind whether you have a textbook or not. What resource you use to study, it doesn't matter. I will recommend that. I will highly recommend that you have a textbook. But if you can manage in any way you want, that's okay. The questions, I will be typesetting it. So it does not really, I won't be telling problem 23 from chapter 6 of the textbook. Even though it is related to the textbook, I won't be saying that. So you're reasonably safe, even if you do not buy a textbook, or if you really understand the material well, you don't even have to use the textbook. I don't mind it. But again, from experience, I know that textbook helps a lot. It's one place where you have an overview of what is going on. So I will highly recommend the textbook. Textbook is good. So it's worth, I don't know whether it's worth the price or not. It's expensive. Yes, I agree to that. But most of the times I don't have any control, and even the authors don't have a control of that. So that's the fact. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Let's do a very little bit of oh, I should. So before I begin, so these are the due things that are due. You have a quiz, which is, so notice the number here. The first two numbers represents the month, that's January, and that represents the date. So that's January 10th. So that is a quiz for every class lecture. So the quiz for today is due on Wednesday, and it is due right before the class. So that's 10 a.m. on D2L. So it is due at 10 a.m. That is right before the class, and it is due on D2L. So that's the first thing that is due. The homework homework 1. That's due next 1 week from Wednesday. So it's 1 week from Wednesday. Again, it is due right before the class, and it is due on D2L. That means to say that you have to scan whatever you have and upload it on D2L. And the third thing you have is the midterm. So this means midterm exam, right? So let me write that as midterm 1. And that's relatively far. So that's on February 4th. That's a Friday. And that will be held in class. Assuming that everything goes well by then. If not, we will think about it. So that's the 3 things you want to have. And these things keep evolving. Every lecture there is a quiz. Homework is once in a week. Midterm is once in a month. That's how it is. Okay. So what are we talking about in this course? We begin by introducing the idea of electric charge. Electric charge is something like a mass. So recall what is a mass, right? If you were to try to go back and see when did we introduce mass, and you will realize that we never had a very solid definition of mass. What we say is that anything that occupies a volume that has a mass, the intuition associated with something filling in. For example, a metallic object is heavier in the sense that it is more dense. So given the same volume, it will occupy more space. So anything you come across, any material has a property called mass, and we have been using the letter M for that. It doesn't have to be M, but we use the letter M. And if you again think of it, mass, what kind of number do you associate with mass? You measure it in kgs. It could be grams, kgs, milligrams, and so on. But it is gram is the unit, basic unit of that. And you will notice that it is never negative, right? Probably it was not highlighted, or it never came across so much. But if you realize that we never thought about a negative mass. So by construction or by definition, mass is always greater than 0, right? That means to say mass is always positive. Right? You never say that mass is negative. What about 0, right? Can mass be equal to 0? In the current setup that we have introduced mass, no. We never talk about 0 mass because force is equal to mass times acceleration. If mass is 0, then your Newton's law doesn't apply very easily. In the context that we are talking about, mass equal to 0 is not really realistic, but an advanced setup, mass equal to 0 is possible. And light is an example of that, right? Light or photon, you call it photon. So mass is always greater than 0, and you can think of mass being equal to 0, but mass less than 0, that's not no, right? Let me just say no. In our understanding as of now, we do not come across things that have a negative mass. Always mass is greater than 0, right? So that was broadly what we did, or that was one of the cornerstones of what we did last semester. here we want to talk about a similar idea that's called electric charge, and we will represent the letter Q for that. So what is an electric charge? It is a property very much like mass. So what was mass, right? We've said that anything that has that occupies a volume is associated with mass. But even if you just go as a definition, it's a property that every object around you has. Pick up anything, you have a pen, you have a notebook, you're sitting next to your friend, all of them have mass associated with it. Similarly, everything that you see around, the pen, the notebook, and your friend next to you, every one of them, every object has an electric charge associated with it. But then you ask, oh, why did I not think about it before? I never heard about what is the electric charge on me, or what is the electric charge on the pencil or the notebook. And that is because, unlike mass, this can be greater than 0. It can also be less than 0. And it can also be equal to 0. So in that sense, it's very different. So you can have positive charge, negative charge, and 0. So you would say this is positively charged if you have an object that is Q greater than 0. It can be negatively charged, and it can be neutral. If you do not have any charge at all, then you're neutral. And it turns out that most of the objects around us, like for example, the pencil that you're holding in your hands, the notebook, you yourself, most of us are most of the time neutral. And that's why you do not come across this concept very much. So let's, now that we have introduced the electric charge, let's talk about specific examples, what leads to charges. So let me. So we all have used the idea that everything we see around is built out of atoms, and atoms are made up of electrons and protons, right? So let's, so atoms, as we know, are built out of electrons, or let's say protons and electrons, right? In fact, there is also neutrons, right? Plus neutrons. Every thing we see around, most of what we see around, I mean, dominantly, almost everything we see around us is built out of atoms, and those atoms can be broken into protons and electrons and neutrons. There are other particles also, but again, as I said, dominantly, everything around us is built out of atoms. So that means if I can think about what is electric charge of these constituent particles, then we have an idea of what is what things are built out of, and then we just have to add up, right? So let's list this up. So let's say this is a proton, neutron, electron, let's say, and neutron. These are really tiny, as we said. These are atoms are built out of this. Let's begin by saying what are these, what the masses of each of these quantities are. Right? Masses in, let's say, kg. These are what constitute an atom. So this must be really small, right? So the proton is 1.67 into 10 raised to minus 27 kgs. Notice minus 27 means you have to put that many zeros, 27 zeros in front of 1, and then you have to move that decimal point to the left. So that's really tiny, like one of the smallest numbers you will come across. But that's going to be a challenge in the sense that most of you are used to using 1 Newton, 10 kgs, 50 kgs in your part 1 of this course. And many of the things we will come across will have this tiny charges on it. So get used to working with very small numbers and sometimes very large numbers. But very soon you will learn it, and I will, in the first couple of lectures, I'll try to work this out slowly going through the examples. I will try to work this out problems and you will get used to that. So that's something you will learn as you go. What is the mass of an electron? Electron is much lighter than a proton. It's in fact 9.1 into 10 raised to minus 31 kgs. Notice that this is 27, so this is 31. So you have to go further to the left. If you go put in 27 zeros in the front, you get proton, but you have to put in more number of zeros. That means this is much smaller. In fact, a proton is approximately 1,800 times larger. That's significantly larger, 1,000 times. That's pretty big. So if you were to balance these two, proton dominates heavily. Neutron is pretty much the same as proton itself, so that's approximately the same, even though there is a slight, if you go to the third or fourth decimal, there is a small difference between a neutron and a proton's mass, but otherwise they are mostly the same. As far as when you talk about masses, proton and neutron are pretty much identical, but electron is lighter. But that is mass, but we are interested in the charge. Right? That's what we would like to work with here. 3 more minutes. Proton, neutron is the easiest. That has no charge, so that's 0. Right, so there is no charge on a neutron, so that's 0. Electron is negatively charged. That's what we will often say. And proton is positively charged. In fact, these two are equal and opposite. That's necessary because even if this was slightly off, then there are so many of atoms that you can actually build up a residual charge out of it. But they are exactly opposite. So each atom is exactly neutral. But what is the balance you make? Electron is negatively charged, and that is 1.6 into 10 raised to minus 19. I need a unit now, right? So charge, what do you measure charge in terms of? It is not measured in terms of kg. It is not measured in terms of length or a meter, and not in terms of time like seconds either. So you need a new unit for this, and the unit we will use is coulomb. Often just the first letter C is sufficient. Proton is exactly opposite, so you just have to change the sign. So that's plus 1.6 into 10 raised to minus 19 coulomb. So just C is sufficient. Since this number will show up so often to us, we will use a letter for this. E will represent 1.6 into 10 raised to minus 19 coulomb. Right? That's the amount of charge an electron has. A proton has exactly the same charge, but and the opposite sign. A proton and electron constitute an atom, and materials are built out of atoms. Now, most often what happens is that these atoms might be free to move around, and that decides what is an insulator and a conductor, which is what we will talk about in the next class. I will stop now here. There is a quiz related to an insulator and conductor. Think about that, and we will come back on Wednesday. Thank you. Okay, let me close.